There comes a point in life when you realize that the greatest prison is not the one made of walls, it's the one made of your own reactions. You can spend years, decades even, trying to control what other people say, do, and think about you. But you can't. Not your friends, not your family, not your partner, not strangers on the internet. You could live the most flawless, generous, loving life possible, and someone will still twist your story. Someone will still doubt you, disrespect you, or walk away without explanation. And here's the dangerous truth. They don't need your permission to do that. But they do need your permission to hurt you. There's a moment, often invisible at first, when you realize the people who hurt you are not as dangerous as the invisible contract you signed with them. The contract that says, you have the power to decide how I feel about myself. You didn't write it on paper, but you wrote it in your behavior, when their approval made you feel valuable, when their rejection made you feel worthless, when their silence made you feel invisible. Most of us signed this contract in childhood, long before we could even understand it. And we keep renewing it with every relationship, every friendship, every family interaction. Yes, cruelty exists. Yes, betrayal cuts deep. But here's the truth most people never face. The wound that hurts the most is almost never the one inflicted in the present. It's the one that was already there. When someone abandons you as an adult, it's not just about this abandonment. It's the echo of every moment in your past where you felt left behind. It's the night as a child when you realized nobody was coming to check on you. It's the friend in school who turned away. It's the quiet truth you absorbed. I am not worth staying for. When someone criticizes you now, the pain isn't only in their words. It's the sting of every moment you already feared you weren't enough. It's your father's impatient sigh, your teacher's dismissive glance, your older sibling's cruel joke that you laughed off but carried inside for years. This is why some people can shrug off an insult as if it were nothing, while others carry it like a scar for decades. The difference isn't the insult. The difference is the old wound it poked. Most of us walk into adulthood believing we are independent, but deep down, we are still unconsciously chasing what we didn't get as children. If your parents rarely praised you, you may find yourself chasing approval from partners, friends, or bosses, not just liking it when they compliment you, but needing it to feel real. If you grew up feeling unsafe, you may expect others to protect you emotionally, to never raise their voice, to never disappoint you, to never withdraw. You may mistake this need for love, when in reality, it's a deep hunger for safety you never felt in your own home. If you were neglected, you may expect others to fill every empty space in your life. You cling, not because you want to, but because you cannot bear the echo of being left alone. The problem is we don't just want these things, we silently demand them without realizing it. We place an invisible weight on the shoulders of our partners, friends, colleagues, even strangers, asking them to give us the care, attention, and love that our parents couldn't or wouldn't give. And here's the painful truth. No one can truly give you what you missed in childhood. Not because they don't love you, and not because they wouldn't if they could, but because that need is bottomless until you give it to yourself. Every time you expect someone to fix your feelings, you are placing your peace of mind in their hands. You are handing them the keys to your self-worth. When they disappoint you, and they will because they are human, you feel betrayed. You tell yourself they failed you, when in reality they only failed to play a role they never agreed to play. When they give you what you want, you feel whole, but it's temporary. You're not healed, you're borrowed. You're living on emotional credit, and when it runs out, the emptiness returns. This cycle repeats until you realize the truth. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking the world to heal wounds it didn't cause. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean becoming a cold, impenetrable stone. It doesn't mean shutting yourself off or pretending you don't care. It means learning to parent yourself, to give yourself the encouragement, the boundaries, the protection, and the comfort you always needed. It means learning to validate yourself so deeply that another person's opinion is just information, not a verdict. It means holding your own emotions with compassion, without outsourcing them to others as if they were responsible for your inner climate. Breaking this cycle can feel like breaking an addiction. You've spent a lifetime getting emotional fixes from others, a kind word, a text back, a small gesture, and each one temporarily silences the ache. But here's the thing, the day you stop expecting someone else to fill the space your parents left empty is the day you stop living in a constant state of emotional debt. You stop trying to collect from people who never owed you. You stop resenting them for not being able to heal you. You stop measuring your worth by the way someone else treats you. And when that happens, something almost magical occurs. You become lighter. Relationships feel less like a battlefield and more like a choice. Love becomes a gift, not a transaction. Approval becomes pleasant, not essential. Think of the power you would hold if you no longer approached relationships like a beggar asking for scraps. You wouldn't need constant reassurance to feel worthy, because you would know without a shadow of doubt that you are enough. You wouldn't need someone's approval to feel smart, beautiful, or valuable, because your worth wouldn't be up for negotiation. You wouldn't cling to an apology just to finally move forward, because your healing would no longer be in someone else's hands. When you stop expecting people to be your emotional parents, you stop being crushed when they fail to act like gods and instead act like what they are, flawed human beings. And when you see them for what they are, you stop putting yourself in the position of a child waiting for love that may never come. How to stop expecting and start owning. 1. Identify the old need. Ask yourself, what did I need most as a child that I didn't get? Was it safety? Praise? Love? Attention? Someone to simply see you? Now look carefully at your present life. You will notice that you're still chasing that exact thing, only now you disguise it in subtle ways. If you needed love, maybe you chase it through romantic relationships that feel like lifelines. If you needed praise, maybe you exhaust yourself overachieving so someone finally says, "I'm proud of you." If you needed safety, maybe you cling to people who promise to never leave, even when it costs your dignity. 2. Give it to yourself first. If you needed encouragement, become your own encourager. Write it down, say it out loud, celebrate your wins. If you needed protection, set boundaries so strong they cannot be crossed without consequence. If you needed affection, give yourself care, not as a consolation prize, but as proof that you value yourself, enough to invest in your own well-being. 3. Stop keeping emotional score. Stop measuring relationships by how much they give me, or how often they meet my needs. That is a child's ledger. Instead ask, do I enjoy being here, without needing them to fill a hole? That shift changes everything. Relationships become about shared joy, not silent transactions. 4. Drop the illusion of completion. No one will complete you. They can only complement you. If you walk into a relationship half empty, you will see every action through the lens of whether it fills or empties you further. But if you walk in already whole, every gift they bring is abundance, not rescue. Real-world freedom. Imagine this. Your partner forgets something important, And instead of spiraling into "I don't matter," you simply tell them it matters to you, without panic or rage. A friend is distant, and instead of chasing their attention like oxygen, you give yourself the company you need. A boss criticizes you, and instead of collapsing into shame, you filter it for useful feedback and discard the rest. That's not coldness. That's sovereignty. That's living from the truth that you are the caretaker of your own emotional state. Some of the strongest people you will ever meet were not spared from pain. They simply stopped renting out space in their hearts to people who hadn't earned it. Viktor Frankl survived the concentration camps with one truth carved into his soul. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in a given set of circumstances. This is the heart of becoming unbreakable. You accept that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You accept that love is beautiful, but never owed to you. You accept that validation is sweet, but not required for your survival. When you live like this, people can still touch your heart, but no one holds it hostage. They can be part of your joy, but never the source of it. And in that moment, you stop being an emotional beggar, and you become your own source of strength. Every time someone makes you feel worthless, you're not just a victim, you're a participant. That's not an accusation. It's a doorway to freedom. Because to be wounded by their words, you had to believe their words. To be broken by their rejection, you had to measure your worth by their approval. And to measure your worth by their approval, you had to first hand them something far more precious than money, more irreplaceable than time. You gave them the steering wheel to your emotions. That's the unspoken transaction almost no one talks about. We give others silent permission to decide how much we matter. And then we call it hurt when they spend that permission carelessly. Some people hear this and think, so I should stop caring, trust no one, and build a wall so high that no one can ever hurt me again. No, that's not strength. That's fear, wearing the mask of strength. True strength is not about shutting people out. It's about building something inside yourself so unshakable that no one's approval or disapproval can rearrange your sense of who you are. You can let people in without letting them in charge. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, stripped of his family, home and freedom, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Surrounded by cruelty most of us will never know, he found the one thing his captors could not touch, his inner freedom. If a man could hold on to that in the heart of a concentration camp, then we have no excuse for letting a co-worker, a critic, or a stranger on the internet take it from us. If you want to become unbreakable, don't start with pretending you don't care. Start with watching your triggers like a scientist. Why do some insults bounce off you like rain on stone, while others pierce your skin like a blade? Why does one person's rejection haunt you for months while another's barely registers? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are only ever deeply wounded by the wound that already exists. If you already fear you're not enough, someone's criticism will slice deep, not because they spoke it, but because it confirms a verdict you already feared was true. The insult is just the match. Your insecurity is the gasoline. Life has a cruel but honest way of showing you exactly where you still bleed. If you've always feared you're unattractive, one careless comment about your looks can ruin your week. If you secretly doubt your intelligence, a sarcastic remark about your mind will echo for days. If you hunger for approval, one unread message or cold silence can feel like a death sentence. The world becomes a mirror, reflecting back to you the parts of yourself you haven't yet made peace with. Every trigger is not just a wound, it's a signpost pointing to where your work is. The moment you stop expecting the world to handle you gently, you stop being fragile. The moment you decide that your worth isn't a vote others get to cast, you stop being at their mercy. The moment you recognize that their rejection cannot touch what you've already accepted in yourself, you become untouchable. This doesn't mean you stop feeling pain, it means pain stops owning you. When you stop handing out emotional keys to people who haven't earned them, something changes. A partner's bad mood no longer dictates your day. A stranger's insult feels irrelevant rather than devastating. The loss of approval feels like weather, not an earthquake. You stop living as an emotional hostage, waiting for others to be kind so you can feel safe. You start living as a sovereign being, capable of feeling love, joy, and connection, but never dependent on anyone else to keep you whole. Because in the end, no one truly takes your power. You give it away or you keep it. And the moment you decide to keep it, the game changes forever. Examples we all recognize. If you've always feared you're unattractive, one careless comment about your looks can follow you like a shadow for days. Not because it's true, but because it taps a wound you never closed. If you secretly believe you're not intelligent enough, a sarcastic remark about your mind can echo in your head long after the conversation is over. If you crave approval, one person's silence, a missed call, an unanswered text, can feel like a verdict on your worth. The truth is, it's not their words or their silence that cause the damage. It's the fact that somewhere deep down, you've already agreed with them. The world is a mirror. It will keep showing you the places you haven't made peace with yourself over and over until you do. The formula for becoming untouchable. 1. Own your story. If you've already made peace with who you are, no one can use it against you. Eminem understood this in the final rap battle of 8 Mile. He listed every insult his opponent could possibly throw at him, leaving his rivals speechless. When you stop hiding, you take away their weapon. Your flaws don't weaken you when they're yours. They only weaken you when you're ashamed of them. 2. Detach from external approval. You are not your likes. You are not your followers. You are not your relationship status. When your value comes from within, praise becomes pleasant but unnecessary. Criticism becomes interesting but irrelevant. Your worth stops being a number someone else can adjust. 3. Respond, don't react. Reaction is when they push your button and you explode, which means they own the button. A response is when you pause, take a breath, and decide whether this even matters. Reactions keep you in chains. Responses keep you in control. 4. Turn pain into power. Every hurt you survive without letting it define you becomes another brick in your inner fortress. Pain is inevitable, but pain, processed with awareness, turns into strength. Think of the boxer who learns to take a punch without falling. Think of the public speaker who once feared humiliation, but now uses past failures as stories that inspire. What happens when you stop handing over your power? The shift is almost magical. You notice when people try to manipulate you, and instead of getting pulled in, you watch with quiet clarity. Gossip no longer burns you, because you understand people speak from their own wounds, not your truth. Rejection stops feeling like a death sentence because you realize no one is owed to you in the first place. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And you start asking, why did I allow this to reach me? That question changes everything. They can still try to hurt you. They can still lie, leave, or betray. But when your self-worth is built from the inside out, When you own every part of yourself, flaws, scars, and all, their power over you dissolves. You don't become invincible by never feeling pain. You become invincible by never letting pain control your life. Pain may knock at your door, but it will no longer have the keys to walk in.